An easy complimentary winner here on the video report on Tuesday as Gonzaga smacked down St. Mary's for the third straight time this season in the championship game of the West Coast Conference Tournament in Las Vegas. And I've got two more tournament selections for you here on the Wednesday video report. Listen, one thing that I always consider when handicapping the tournament games, whether it be conference tournament games or the big dance games, is how a team plays on the road. Now, I realize that 99% of the time you have neutral site matchups here in the postseason. But to me, it's a road game if you're not sleeping in your own bed. So if you haven't played well on the road all season, I don't care if it's at a neutral site. And we'll talk about that in one of the games that I'm previewing today. I've mentioned before, as a former reporter, I'm a news junkie. I was a news junkie by the time I was in sixth grade. Loved reading the newspapers every single day. So I have always felt that one of the keys, my advantage, shall we say, as a gambler, as a handicapper, has been that I rely on beat writers to be my eyes and ears, because there's nobody better, nobody more informed than the guys that are covering the teams day in, day out. They truly have their finger on the pulse of the teams. So after handicapping games from a statistical point of view, I always turn and scour the newspapers and see what the beat writers have said about the recent games, what their preview stories say, because that gives me the insight that I need to handicap games. And my God, is it beneficial in college basketball and college football more so than any other sport, because of the sheer number of teams. That's the bottom line. But I also get waylaid, because when I'm reading these different newspapers, hey, again, I'm a news junkie. I'm an addict. I like reading other parts of the paper as well. So as I'm handicapping some games, a couple of the games in the SEC tournament today, I come across a couple of other news items, and I want to pass them along to you, because you cannot say that I don't keep you informed. And listen, the SEC tournament is in Nashville for the fifth time in 8 years. Nashville Sports Council said that the tournament last year resulted in 16,000 hotel rooms being booked, and the economic impact, nearly $20 million to the Nashville area. The average spend per visitor, $268. But next year, that tournament is being played in St. Louis. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, in past years, it's been in Atlanta, it's been in Nashville. Next year, it's in St. Louis, then it comes back to Nashville. 2024, I think it is, it's going to be in Tampa. And I'm just wondering, okay, I'm a Kentucky Wildcat fan, I'm in Lexington. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, I'm from Atlanta. I'm a Gator fan from Gainesville, and I'm given the choice. I can go to Nashville for 4 or 5 days. I can go to Atlanta for 4 or 5 days. I can go to Tampa for 4 or 5 days. I can go to St. Louis for 4 or 5 days. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if you happen to be in St. Louis. I've been to all these towns many, many times. But given the choice, I ain't going to St. Louis. There's just not a hell of a lot to do there. I like the Arch. I like seeing the river. But after that, just not one of my favorite towns in the world. And you got to wonder. Makes me wonder why the ACC. Other than the sheer publicity, the exposure to recruits, doesn't seem kind of weird that the ACC tournament isn't in Greensboro or Chapel Hill or in Charlotte, that it's in New York. I understand the prestige of it all. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand, the Pac-12 moving to Vegas and the West Coast Conference in Vegas and those type of tournaments coming to Vegas, because Vegas, you want to get your visitors to travel. And if I'm sitting in Eugene and I'm sitting, Oregon Ducks fan, and I'm given the choice of, hey, let's go to LA and watch the Ducks, or let's go to Vegas. Well, geez, let's get the guys to hop on the plane and come to Vegas, because that's an excursion. That's a trip. St. Louis? Don't get it. By the way, other things I came across in the Nashville Tennessean today, Kelly Clarkson's Hendersonville mansion is up for sale for $8.75 million. And what does $8.75 million get you guys? A 20,000 square foot property, 6 acres, waterfront property, 7 beds, 8 baths, 3 half baths. 7 bedrooms, 8 baths, 3 half baths. I guess when you can afford an $8 million plus home, you can have as many bathrooms as you want. Also has a saltwater pool, a spa, inside and outside, a sand volleyball court, because hell, Every $8.5 million mansion has to have a sand volleyball court, also has a private dock and a theater in the basement, which also has 4 bunk beds, I believe. Also came across a very unique story, which, listen, I can't even paraphrase this one, so I'm just going to read it pretty much word for word. The first paragraphs from this story. A joint resolution in the Tennessee General Assembly condemning pornography as a public health crisis that is making men less interested in marrying passed unanimously in the Senate on Monday. We move on. Okay, let's get to the complimentary plays here. A lot of hot handicappers. You can check out the homepage for all those things. That's a weird story. Don't you agree? Okay, a lot of problems in this world. I don't know. There's a lot of problems with pornography in the world, but I don't know if necessarily it's making men less interested in marrying. I think it causes a lot of other issues, but that's a different one. Okay, let's get to the complimentary plays. Let's see, the first one, Colorado, -10, Pac-12 play against Washington State, Buffaloes. Open conference play, 0-7. They closed it 8-3. Along the way, they upset Oregon at home. Now, in the regular season meetings, they lost 91-89 in overtime in Washington. And then after that game, that's when they went on their 8-3 season-ending roll. And that included an 81-49 blowout in Boulder of the Huskies on February 12th, a game in which they forced 24 turnovers. Now, I'm sorry, not the Huskies. Did I say the Huskies? It is the Washington State Cougars we're talking about here today. Cougars, 2-7 in their last 9 games, 4-12 in their last 16. Tad Boyle's Buffaloes have never lost a tournament opener. They won 80-56 last year in the first round against, you guessed it, Washington State. I find one of the interesting statistics when I analyze these two teams is the rebound margin. Colorado rebound margin plus 3.1. Washington State 306th ranked in the country at negative minus 4.1. That's an average of 7.2 rebounds per game plus Colorado's advantage. That leads to a lot of second chance points, a lot of advantages for Colorado in terms of getting out on the fast break as well. Cougars played well, at least being competitive in their season finale in a loss at UCLA, 77-68. But in the game prior, they got blown out at USC last week, 87-64, 1-7, straight up in their final 8 Pac-12 road games after winning their opener as a 12-point dog, upsetting arch rival Washington. Their only other win came as a 10-point dog at Arizona State. I just like Colorado playing with a little momentum to pull off the win in this one, so I'm going to go with Colorado in this contest. Texas Tech is a 4.5-point favorite over Texas. This game being played at the Sprint Center in Kansas City. Now, Texas Tech has lost 11 consecutive Big 12 road games. This game ain't in Lubbock. This game is a road game, okay? Now, Texas is no good either. Longhorns 1-6 ATS in their last 7 games. 2-13-1 against the spread, their last 16 as a dog. But Tech has lost 11 straight road games, okay? And that certainly should be a consideration. They lost the first meeting, 62-58 in Austin, February 1st, won the second meeting, 67-57 in Lubbock just last Wednesday. But again, they've lost 11 straight Big 12 road games. Shaka Smart, he's got a long road to hoe in Austin. It has not turned out as everybody thought, that he would come here based on his success in VCU and just be a magic man in Austin and turn around a Longhorns program that had been average to mediocre in recent years under Rick Barnes. Just hasn't worked out that way. But he's got the postseason success. You've got two teams that both struggle offensively. You know, Texas gets the bulk of their points, 48% of them, by working the ball inside to Jarrett Allen and their big men. You got a Texas team that can't hit the broadside of the barn from the outside. They only hit 28% of their shots from beyond the three-point arc. You got a UT team that's lost 7 straight and 16 out of 20. But as Texas Tech, again, neutral court, road game, worthy of being a 4.5-point favorite, considering they ain't that good anyway. Their only win in their last 5 games came against Texas at home last Wednesday. I think it's worth grabbing the points with UT here. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a 3-4 point game. And I think that in this one, if you're getting 4.5 points, you might as well take the Longhorns in this contest. Listen, it's a lousy card today, okay? It is a lousy, lousy, lousy card. So I think of the free selections, I like Colorado the best. I lean a little toward Texas. The other game I had briefly considered was Massachusetts minus the 3.5 against St. Joe's. But, you got a St. Joe's team that lost its 2 point guards this season, a St. Joe's team that needed to rally for a 63-60 win at Duquesne in its season finale to snap a 9-game losing streak. And I thought, hey, maybe Massachusetts is to play here in the Atlantic 10 opener for both teams. But then you have a Minutemen team that lost 5 of its last 6, 10 of its last 12, with one of the wins coming by 11 points over St. Joe's on February 11th. Not exactly a lot of credibility for either one of those teams. So I decided to pass on that one and grab the points with Texas instead. So anyway, Colorado and Texas are your 2 complimentary plays. I wish you well, guys, and I'll be back here early again on Thursday when we do this one more time.